Actually, I picked that song for Obi. We're Obi's replacement, so hopefully we do a good enough job. But welcome, Nicole. Welcome, Kush. Can we start maybe with a quick introduction from your side, Nicole? Yeah.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Khushboo Khullar, the venture partner and head of portfolio success at Lightning Ventures. So, Lightning Ventures is a US-based VC firm, and we invest in Bitcoin native startups. So far, we have invested in 43 companies, and in July this year, we launched a brand new platform called Thunder Funder, where now even non-accredited investors can also invest. So if you are building something groundbreaking in Bitcoin, Lightning, or FOSS, do reach out to me or go to our website. It's ltng.ventures.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Casanova. I live here in Thailand, Thanarak Prate Thai. Grateful I live in Kopenhagen. My background is emerging tech, startups, and venture capital for 30 years, and I'm working on something called The Conspiracy, which is a weird word, isn't it? It actually means to breathe together. And as Bitcoiners, it's important that we recognize that it won't be okay for some of us to exhale when everybody else is still holding their breath. So our focus is on scaling the ideas that will make humanity more free and sovereign. And to do that, we're looking at Bitcoin treasuries that are co-domiciled in El Salvador. It gives us the ability to invest in innovation, the arts, public goods in new, more sustainable ways.
Yeah. Okay, great. In terms of maybe we can carry on from what we were talking about yesterday, or the day before, I forget. The day before, yeah. You guys have slightly different approaches to your investments, right? Maybe this time we start with Nicole, because we talked a bit about the El Salvador thing and then eventually landing on using Bitcoin as like a reserve asset. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit, just for our audience?
Yes, and I want to go back to the reason why this is important for me. Yeah, so my background is startups in America. I was in San Francisco for 8 years. I've been involved in, hundreds of startups, in accelerators, in building startup ecosystems, and I've been in the VC space doing things like raising money for female founders. We helped them raise over $200 million. And what I experienced was in many ways very challenging. It's very hard. Companies are constantly having to raise money. And it can be a very challenging thing to think about your runway all the time. I was always looking for alternative investment vehicles. How can we make it more possible for them to focus on building and creating rather than always raising? So when I learned more about companies like MicroStrategy and now Metaplan and other ones that are using Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, I was like, this is a possible way for us to make it more favorable for the founders so that they can maybe raise less often, maybe they don't have to raise as much. And for companies that are already in existence, it gives them the ability to maybe even expand and build different things they might not have before, because now they have, hopefully, over the long term, a lot more capital to work from. So we'll get back into the El Salvador stuff in a bit, but the reason why is because I personally experienced a lot of pain as well, and I was most recently raising money for my own company, and it took me like a year of, I don't want to say fighting, but dealing with the lawyers in America who kept telling me, you can't do this, you can't do that, it's going to be a security, this is a problem. And at the end of the day, I was going to have to do a safe agreement and raise money the old school VC way again, and I really wanted to pause and figure out there's got to be another way. So that's how.
Maybe we pause there and come back to that, but can I call you Dr. Kush? You are a doctor, aren't you? Okay, what are you a PhD in?
PhD in economics.
Oh, wow, all right. Man, well, that's a side conversation. Austrian economics or Keynesian economics? Okay, that's another big side conversation. Okay, but okay, we'll put a pin in that. As a VC firm, of which Lightning Ventures is, well, two questions. One is you guys are focused on Bitcoin-only ventures and companies? Oh,
Yes, of course.
okay. And second question is it, I mean, you told me a little bit about your background, also Musa's background. You must discuss this as a team. Your team has grown, I believe, from just Mike Jarmus, now 7 people spread throughout many parts of the world. When you guys sort of sit and talk about it, is there any difference, or what are the biggest differences in funding like startups in, let's say, fiat world and Bitcoin world? Because this thing is about starting a Bitcoin company, right? Which it almost isn't. It's kind of like, how do you get funding, right? Since that's the topic. So from your perspective, to be fair to like founders, it's like, okay, if I start a company, what are you guys looking for if I want to get funded, right? If you're
Okay.
Bitcoin only. Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, we are a Bitcoin-focused VC firm. And as far as fiat is concerned, as far as a Bitcoin startup is concerned, raising money is difficult for both. So, and in fact, it's harder for Bitcoin startups because it's quite new. It's not, we are competing with traditional startups, and then you have to have a set of VCs which have deep knowledge in the domain, so you have lesser VCs in this space. And plus, there is a gap where people don't know how to reach out, where to reach out. So we are trying to fill that gap as Lightning Ventures. We are trying to, so we have 2 platforms now where we have a crowdfunding platform as well as a VC firm. And as Nicole mentioned, like, you know, where there is reserves, I mean, the treasury, it's a great thing. But if you're a new founder, if you're a new company, if you haven't found out a product market fit as yet, then you need funding. Then you need investors who understands you. So, so what we do generally, we try to promote new startups. We try to promote this community by giving them you know, a platform where they can reach out to us, pitch us, and we also help them out. It's not, our job doesn't end at just the money. Even for our portfolio companies, we do help them out for go-to-market strategy. If they want to expand to another region, we'll connect them with other portfolio companies or other companies that we know of, because we are there to help them beyond funding, because if they succeed, we succeed. So that's how we feel our work is as an investor, as an advisor. And yes, as a new founder, if you are in the Bitcoin space, I would suggest to be there. It's a long journey. You need to have deep knowledge. You need to be there. You need to understand the go-to-market strategy, the product market fit. You need to understand the TAM, SAM, SOM, market sizing. It's very important when you pitch us, and the questions we ask them, like, what's your market sizing? And they are like, okay, we don't know how to deal with it, how to answer that question. Is it a top-down approach? Is it a bottoms-up approach? You should be very clear, like, what's your launch market? Then you should know, okay, am I changing the characteristic of human behavior, or am I building something which is eccentric to human nature? So that would help me to expand, and that would help me to understand the market that I'm going to target. So you need to have a launch market, beachhead market, as you say, and then you come to the TAM, SAM, SOM. So that has to have a clarity, and it's almost similar to any traditional startup. It's the path is same. You have to be just, you know, really, really focused, and yeah, and just reach out to us.
Can I
Sure.
I want to also acknowledge how important it is to have VCs that understand the space. So Lightning Ventures, one of the reasons why it's not just that you have access to capital, it's the relationships and it's the deep expertise. So often a VC firm has a thesis and they're focused on certain areas. When you think about how niche we are, this isn't just like blockchain and Web3. This is like, you don't mess around, especially in Bitcoin, right? Like, where Max is, you have to understand the technology, and then for us to have VCs to leverage that are seeing the tech that they're likely seeing is years advanced, and they have an understanding of the competitive landscape, who's actually doing this right, who's not, where are their gaps, have they actually figured this out? Are they really going to win because they say they are, or do they have the tech for it? That's the important reason to be able to partner with VCs like this. So I'm thankful because we need you in the space because you're the ones that are going to help the adoption at the end of the day. We need that, yeah.
Actually, if Obi were here and he had gone through his slides, three of his most important slides are, in relation to if you want to start a business, a startup don't, right? 90% fail, okay? But then the second slide is, okay, if you're crazy enough to start a startup, don't, because 90% of startup fail. Okay, but you're really crazy enough, this is the thing. This Venn diagram, he says, to build a Bitcoin startup, you need to build a business that also needs or is better with Bitcoin integrated. You have to have that overlap. The business really needs Bitcoin, or it benefits somehow from Bitcoin, and the business itself has to be sustainable as a business, right? With the same network effects, scalability, all that stuff. So, it's not, as I think maybe, agreeing with what you guys are saying, and that it's even harder to be a Bitcoin startup because you need that, extra slice of the Venn diagram to work out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I agree with that, and I'm also doing my best to come to it from another perspective, which is, at least in America, and right now a good portion of tech funding, things like that happen out of there, and Delaware C Corps. There's a reason why venture capital happens in America. Unfortunately, most VCs there are not able to invest in Bitcoin. They have a fiduciary responsibility. They have to invest in private companies. So because of that, I'm looking at, can we make it possible to leverage Bitcoin as the thing that will allow us to invest in all different types of things? Eventually, I want this to be the film industry. I want it to be public goods and philanthropy. There's the ability to have Bitcoin in the balance sheet gives us an extended amount of time that potentially in perpetuity, we can support good things. So.
Can I? Sorry.
I want to add here, yes, it's difficult to start a business in Bitcoin, but it's if you see the VC side also, there are very few VCs who is supporting this space. So even if you look at the fund size, it's the maximum fund size is $100 million. You still don't have a $1 billion fund size as you have for other tech startups. So we are there. We are slowly, gradually moving there. So the force has to be from both the sides, from the founder side and from the VC side, and it's a quite new industry. So we are competing with traditional VCs, traditional startups. So it's gonna take time, but we are very hopeful.
Good. Okay, I'm glad. Casanova Ventures. All right. Expand on a little bit that you said you would get back to on
El Salvador?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that company, so Casanova Ventures is my company. The conspiracy is that's the project we're working on now. That's the new company, and it's specifically focused on co-domiciling any kind of companies in El Salvador so that they can benefit from the digital asset laws there. And the conversation yesterday that came up was what's the real big reason, the benefit? And the word that kept coming up was certainty. So you have the ability to do things in Dubai, Singapore, other places are more positive when it comes to, at least for me, I was looking at having a company called The Conspiracy that was going to be registered in Estonia. I mean, it was potentially so shady because I couldn't do this in America.
Right, yeah.
And this allows us to have an entity, because it's based in El Salvador, you have the ability to no longer have capital gains tax on transactions. So the company yesterday was explaining that because of their use of the Chivo wallet, it's a Salvadorian company, which this would be an SPV. The normal on-ramp, off-ramp, I think it was 10% is what it normally would be. There was pennies in some ways. It was 67 cents compared to $300 for him to do his payroll. So that's an example of over time how that can support, but a company in California could save something like 43% on their taxes by having the Bitcoin piece that's
Well,
there.
okay. I mean, let's see if I understood this. Basically, you're saying, well, again, being able to do your accounting and treasury in Bitcoin, that's like a corporate thing, which is cool, right? That's check. That's correct?
It is those pieces, and
But also, yeah, what are the other pieces, I guess, is what I'm...
so, and the best way I think to think of what the conspiracy is when it's about breathing together, this is an alliance. It's a partnership of a lot of different groups coming together. So my co-founder, Adam Nilly, he was the COO for Meet Premier Bitcoin.
Yep,
So focus
sure.
on the education and adoption all over. We're in partnerships and in conversations and setting up things with people like, for example, CASA. CASA is moving towards having an enterprise, a dashboard and elements that are going to make it possible from the accounting piece. We'll have with the legal piece, like some of these are all different entities when it comes to multi-sig and having, you could self-custody, but there's ways of setting this up now where you can give visibility in to certain people that will have the ability to support you over time. And
So like there's maybe a more complete ecosystem surrounding the Bitcoin startup founder when he lands, right? Or even he's doing virtually and decides to domicile something in El Salvador. It's
Yeah.
fitted for a Bitcoin company, really.
And what we're looking at right now is multiple multiple variations of what this looks like. For early stage companies, it might be more of a templated, easier thing. For a company that is they're raising later rounds, they already have profits, they have a way to fund a treasury. That's one thing. For another company that's public, they have the benefit, like MicroStrategy, of having the volatility of actual a share price that's on the stock exchange. So there's an element of PR. There's different pieces that we can bring to the table to give them more exposure and audience, because it is it's an interesting story, right? And it's not just a story, it's like a story of hope. And at the end of the day, that's what entrepreneurship is. It's like, can we make better tomorrows? And can we not just be inspired, but can we, sustain those people that are going to support us in the future?
I want to, bear down on that and come back to Dr. Kush a little bit. Aside from like, what else do you look at? I mean, when you evaluate a project, a founder, right? I guess people always assume and think that, yeah, you got to have a good business plan, good market sizing, a good team. What are some of the elements that maybe, are unsaid or most founders don't really think about that are things that they should be aware of, things that they shouldn't overlook or anything which isn't that obvious? Is there anything where you guys, again, what's your secret sauce? Jesus, just that's the
How do we get
question.
funded? Tell us.
We don't have a checklist, or we don't have a secret sauce. It depends. It varies. Technology wise, it depends on founders. So generally, when I get on a founder call, I generally look at like the pedigree of founder, how familiar he is with the space, what his background is, how is the dynamic of the team, how well the founder know each other and they complement each other, and do they really understand the problem? And if they understand the problem, is it the correct solution? Is it actually needed at that point of time? Are they early movers? If they're early movers, then it's a moonshot. So we have a quota for those sort of projects also, which we feel like, okay, this could be the game changer. But they have to have a viable business model where they have, okay, and second thing, very important, market validation. Not just the secondary market research, but a primary research also where they have spoken to actual users or actual people who might use their product or who are willing to pay, and the country that they are focusing on, do they have the propensity to pay? And it's not like, okay, let me go to India, it has a huge population base, but they don't have, you need to have a certain other factors taken into account. So apart from that, do they understand the market sizing? Do they understand are they aware of the regulations and compliance, which is very important. So these are some of the factors that we take into account.
Okay. What about like, because Bitcoin is a proof of work sphere, right? So do you expect that every founder that comes to you, if it's on a software project, they gotta have at least a prototype? No, that's a requirement. Should it be? I don't know. I'm asking.
Yes, I mean, has to have a prototype. If they have a good CTO, I guess at least I should be able to understand as a layman, okay, this is what they are trying to build. If they can make me understand in other ways, if they can, if it's very clear to me in like one go, if you can make it understand to a 5-year-old, then you're good to go. Even I'm not be keen on looking at the prototype, but if I can connect with the problem, if I can connect with the solution, and I know, okay, this team has the capacity and this team has the right set of framework, they have the right, at least they know the roadmap, then we can help them with the funding, and then they can build the prototype.
Okay.
Do they need to be revenue generating? Because I know with some of even the angels we were working with, they needed a minimum of 200 grand.
No. So for us, that's not the criteria. I mean, if it's revenue if they are already generating revenue, great. But if not, then what I would prefer is, like, for example, if they are generating $5 revenue today, after 1 month, even if it's like $10, I'll be like, okay, they are making progress.
So traction. You're looking at certain metrics of traction that are audience build or...
Yes.
Okay.
What about yourself, Nicole? I mean, does Casanova Venture, you guys still do active investments, or how does that work? So you didn't kind of get into that.
I didn't answer that. Generally, the way that works is I'm involved advising. At the end of the day, I'm a super connector. And so I wind up getting to see a lot of deal flow that is sometimes 10, 15 years ahead of when people need it or want it. And it can be in any industry. So I don't want to go into the different things I'm talking about right now, because I'm looking at different AI.
Let me sort of narrow it down. The reason it's great that you went there, because I want to narrow it down and pinpoint on those years of all the founders, the projects, and the businesses that you see. What were some of the similarities of these things that was consistent amongst the people that actually made it? Yeah, was there something that you observed that was consistent? I'm curious.
It's interesting because I'm so curious to hear from your side as well. I can see stuff that I think is the best technology in the world, and because I've also been internal in a lot of companies as well, it's so interesting because you don't always know until you're like 6 months in. Does the tech actually work? Do the founders really love each other? Like what did we not know prior to getting into it? But the question of like what consistently wins? Where's the best product market fit? I think sometimes it comes down to its timeliness, because I've been involved in things that are when I say like meaning
what do you mean by that?
You could have the best. Because I'm an early adopter, I'm often using tech that I think is amazing, but nobody else is using it yet, and then it's just like frustrating because, example.
So having the right product to the market at the right time that the market is ready for it.
Because you could be so early, and it's just like nobody's wanting it yet.
Yeah,
I did online videos.
So we so early. Yes, we know that. Anyway, sorry, I gotta mean that, but go ahead.
I was doing online video, and we were explaining to people, like, you will have video online, and the only people that got it were the action sports industry. So there are things like that where, like, right now I'm working, and there's something I've actually been involved in. It's been like 5 years, and it's the next version of AI. It's active inference AI that's using sensors, IoT. So everyone's very focused on OpenAI and NVIDIA and stuff like that. This doesn't use any of the compute power. This is the free energy principle.
Sorry.
It's coming.
Coming back to the question, though, of all the successful, in your definition of successful businesses, projects, entrepreneurs that you see, any common themes that jump out that's consistent amongst all those, including yourself, your own projects?
My first answer, and this is probably because I'm it's I want to say the who you know, in many ways, partly because especially if somebody has a track record and a background, they're going to get fun. Look at Ilya right now. He just got $1 billion from OpenAI. So there's, and I don't want to say this is like nepotism and that the only people that are ever going to get funded are somebody that already had an exit and they did well. That said, if you look at like older founders, people that have had some success in the market, they already have an investor base that knows them.
Track record.
They have a syndicate that will like easily follow on. So there's a track record and people have seen that they know how to lead a team, they can exit. So with someone like that, you can, and it comes down to team, right? It comes down to who the person is. And that's why it's really good for the investors to know the founders, to really, I tell the founders as well, this is a marriage. You are partnering with them in the same way. Like you should know and love each other. You're giving them equity and you need to be able to count on them. It's not just like the money today. It's how are you going to show up when we have a failure and we didn't ship the product, or, you know, so I think that there's a lot of elements to creating a startup that people don't yet consider, and it seems we went through this period of it being very sexy. Everybody wanted to have a startup, and like you said, it's not easy.
Once you realize that, okay, I mean, it's nice to have a startup until you realize that if you're a founder and CEO of a company, what it means is that you're the janitor at 6 p.m. when everybody leaves, okay? That's your fucking job, you know, basically. Over to you, Dr. Kush. What are some themes that jump out at you and consistent that maybe our audience, would-be startup founders can take away and say, okay, do I have those elements in place or not to be a successful project entrepreneur in your space?
I mean, there's no set answer for this. Had there been an answer, everybody would have known it before I would have disclosed it. So I think what we generally bet on is the founder mindset. It's the their go-getter attitude, because maybe they are the, you know, captain of the ship. And in fact, even if everything is in place at that point of time, and then a trend comes in, a new technology comes in, or something, regulations or compliance comes into place, I mean, even everything was great, but anything can happen, be it a macro environment, be it the political stability of a country. There are a number of reasons, but what matters is like how well aware is a founder, the team, how rooted are they with the technology, how much they are in love with the thing they are doing. I mean, it's really important for them to be in sync, and even if they know, okay, something is going wrong, they should not be emotional, they should pivot and try to, save the ship.
So summarize, it'll be resilience, leadership, correct? And the ability to, those two are pretty important.
I'm going to add to scale at all costs, which is this is my mindset because I've been in venture for so long. This is sad that I sometimes I don't even want to speak to early founders because I think I'm going to dissuade them. But the idea of thinking about money. I'm going to disagree.
We do not scale at all cost.
Okay,
because
that's not,
if you scale at all costs and you start breaking the protocol rules, and you start hard forking this shit and increasing block size without my agreement, my God, are we going to have a problem, woman?
Please take out what I just said. You're right.
I'm
because
kidding.
Even me saying it, the whole idea is I want it to be sustainable.
I'm just kidding.
And so that's why even like the thinking, and this is why I'm like so conditioned to that sometimes I have to tell myself this is not healthy.
You understand what I just meant, right? My reaction is there is no such thing at any cost in Bitcoin. No.
Or in
that's
anything.
That's this freaking line. You cross it, you drop down. You don't fucking cross it.
This is the takeaway from this conversation, and you're right, and this should be the case for all of startups, for tech, everything. And that mindset of scaling at all costs, or even the idea that we should be considering, how do you make money on this? Oh, cool, this is a great product, and I'm going to make amazing feature sets, and I'm going to make it prettier and prettier, but no, you really have to think about how is this going to make money, or how are you going to get the audience, or how... And at some point, the stability piece and the sustainability, like I want us to be able to breathe. So I'm with you, and thank you for cutting me off with that, because
perfect,
you're right.
Because I think we're like 10 minutes left for Q&A. I think that was a perfect ending to it, right? Right when we're about to get spicy, you guys get to ask questions. Let's fucking go. Let's go. First question. Go on. Sit. What up? And who is it for? Which two of these ladies or for both of them? Please state.
So like I'm just gonna stay away from the scaling at all costs thing. That's like a hot topic.
I'm so sorry I said that, but glad it came out.
See, you trigger Sid too.
It's so good. I'm glad I said it so it came out.
Let's move over that. Ask these ladies your questions.
Basically, like I think that like a lot of times when we talk about a venture, like I want to kind of like get your kind of input on like whether or not like what are we actually venturing into. Like I think that like it is very easy for me to reason why Bitcoin, because like Bitcoin has the most amount of actual outreach. Like we've been talking a long time about how like we're gonna like basically uplift the third world, like basically how we're missing all these good opportunities because like we're not basically like giving them all the right opportunities, right? And now we have a Bitcoin. We have an asset that actually reaches the most amount of like basically people in need. Does that factor in, or does it factor in a lot more that like basically we're gonna, again, I'm just using the word scaling at all costs, but like not just scaling at all costs, right? But like having the most amount of ROI in return, or are we just gonna venture it into the place we know is like underdeveloped and has the most amount of like growth potential?
Can I start? I think the question, if I heard you correctly, is like, what else are we? The purpose behind it in many ways, and so one of the things that the conspiracy also is a network of super connectors, leveraging relationships for good to scale the tech that will make humanity more free and sovereign. The things that will let us own our media, our money, our data, our infrastructure, our food, our energy, all of those things. You heard me just now conditioned with like my VC mindset, vomiting stuff that like I believe that there needs to be more of the values that Bitcoin stands for. So at the end of the day, like me being involved in Bitcoin in many ways is because of the community. It's because of the people that it attracts. There's an inherent element of integrity of word and action that just happens to happen automatically with Bitcoiners. And I feel like if we let our sacred hearts lead and we choose to build technologies that will benefit the masses, that I think is the most important thing. So I'm thankful that the conversation like went in these directions, and I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that.
Sorry, maybe it's Sid.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question for Dr. Kush as well? Like, just summarize it for her.
So basically, like I think that like if we kind of summarize it into, right, like we all know why Bitcoin. Basically, Bitcoin has the outreach to the people that we know as venture, we know is undertapped, right? Like we know like there is a vast amount of talents that we're not tapping into right now, and Bitcoin is already tapping into their life for different reason. Everybody has their own reason. Like, does that factor in what it's like? How much does that factor into like the ROI question for you? Like I think like Dr. Casanova, Ms. Casanova.
Yeah, we have different opinion on that. I see scalability from a perspective where, like I mentioned, if it's a great team, if they know product market fit, if they all those stuff, then the money it just follows. Then the scalability. I see scalability from a perspective that Bitcoin is something which is like borderless. So it's decentralized. So it has mass adoptability. So that could be adopted anywhere from, anyone can be part of it, but if I compare it with an internet technology, it's quite new, so it's gonna take time, it has a gestation period. So we are going and following that same trajectory, it's just that it's gonna take time, that's all.
I think also because you're specifically looking at how do we invest in a company that over time is going to have to show returns, right? So the ROI question. Some of what I'm looking at is how can we invest.
I'm assuming that's no other question because we're like.
Are we over?
I know. Do we have other questions? If we do, then maybe we pause it and get others because we have like 5 left. And
okay.
You do, right? Okay. I'm sorry. Sid? make sure you look these ladies up because it seems like your question triggers something, brother. Please.
Hi, I just wanted to know what are the main types of companies that you're seeing or that you guys are investing in, the Bitcoin, like what are the kind of products and services are they providing? Because mostly we see like a lot of Bitcoin companies are more for Bitcoiners, whereas, you know, are we starting to see a bit of a move towards companies that are servicing not just Bitcoiners?
I mean, I think this focus specifically on Bitcoin tech, right? So, and on my side, it is, I'm looking at how can we take Bitcoin as the reserve asset that allows us to scale companies that are doing anything. Now, at the end of the day, my interest is in impact investing, conscious capitalism, patient capital for a sustainable future. So I have a desire that the things we invest in are going to be more focused on, like, it doesn't need to be another pizza app. We've got, you know, there's enough tech being built that doesn't have the benefit to shift the game and power the people. So that's kind of like the framework and the window that I look for is what, when we talk about decentralization or like, is it truly that? And at the end of the day, is it going to be censorship resistant? Is it going to be the thing that makes it possible for all of us to breathe? So that's kind of like the window of what I look at.
Dr. Kush.
Oh, yeah. We invest in Bitcoin native startups. So if I have to give you an example, like of our portfolio companies, they are under the realm of exchange. So for example, Relay, it's our regional star. Then we have wallets. We have Thea, which is also backed by Y Combinator. So we have rewards company like Satsback. Then we have, I mean, under anything or that has to do with Bitcoin, be it payments, be it, so for example, IBEX or Strike, these are some of the companies that we have invested in. And so yeah.
Cool. Last question. This gentleman, he had his hand up.
All right, this might be a little overlap, but I'm just interested to hear what has you both really excited. So if it's a business that was recently pitched to you or that you're just now funding, but just any recent business or business model that you're super excited about right now.
This time, I would like Dr. Kush to start. Reverse it.
So as I mentioned in the beginning, we have recently launched a brand new platform called Thunder Funder, which is a Reg CF platform. So after being into VC space for 3 years, we realized, okay, we need to do more than that. Apart from accredited investor, we want to now focus on even unaccredited investors. So you can come and you can start from, let's say, $100 and you can invest in any Bitcoin startup and be part of it. So we are really excited about that platform, and this gives opportunity to those startups also that like who doesn't have an MVP, who are really new, and basically the plebs, and who don't know how to reach out VC, who don't know, how to, what are the, like if they don't have a lead investor, they can come on Reg CF platform and get the platform there. And what we are also doing is advisory. We are trying to handhold and help these founders to find a path. We are trying to, because we have a panel of experts which can help them with what all I mentioned, like the market sizing and everything. So we are there to help them around with the technology part as well as the business side. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to say things that are not Bitcoin Maxi. That said, okay? There's two that I personally am very excited about right now. One of them is Verus.io, and that is a public blockchain as a service that is interoperable, that allows you to merge mine 21 coins with it, but it is privacy at the base layer, and it's using smart transactions, not smart contracts, and Bitcoin is one of the pieces for it. The other one that I'm very interested in is called Versus.ai, and that is, it's blockchain, metaverses, it is IoT, and it is not generative AI, it is active inference AI. So the IoT, the sensors are acting the way that the body would. And the IEEE has just approved our move from the HTTP protocol to the hyperspace protocol. So it's digital twins. This company has been around for 5 years. The drones above London are using it. NASA's using it. And we will soon be moving to the hyperspace protocol. But most people don't know about this when I talk about it. So.
And one more exciting thing is like more women in the Bitcoin space. Like this
Yes.
panel,
Oh, yeah.
this is what we want.
I guess I can be an honorary woman and we would have we're an all-woman panel. Fuck yeah. Let's give these ladies a big round of applause. We're out of time. Thank you, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you
Nicole,
so much.
thank you, Dr. Kush.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ